Hello, it's Davita. Welcome back to Abstract and Flow. I am on today, this morning. Isn't it nice and lovely and bright? Anyway, I'm on today to give you a quick look at how I mix my paints. Didn't think I would ever be doing a mixing video, but I've had a few inquiries, so I said, okay, why not? So I'm not doing a pour today, just mixing, and a few examples on my tiles, because that's how I test my mixes before I put them on canvas. So let's get that started. First thing I do is I use my scale. Depending on what technique I'm using, I may eyeball when I'm mixing the colors. But this particular technique is so temperamental. So I do measure out my paints. But before we get started, let me show you what I found. Satin enamels, and this is deep ruby. Oh, the possibilities, the things that are going through my head for this baby right here. We'll see. All right, so here's my container. I get them from the dollar store. It does have some measurement markings, but I don't use them because I use my scale. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at my notes. My book is full of notes. So I'm going to pan the camera down so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, let's see here. It's the best way to do this. All right, so we're going to put our container on the scale, and I'm going to zero it out. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to add is 3 ounces of the Artist Loft. Okay? 3 ounces of the Artist Loft. Okay, there we go. Now, if it goes to like 3.2 or 3.1 or whatever, I don't make a big deal about it. Next, we're going to add some Floetrol. And that I'm going to add 5 ounces. So actually, let me zero out again. Okay. Now we're going to do 5 ounces of the Floetrol. Okay, 5 ounces exactly. And let's see. Hey, okay, that's... And I'm going to do a small amount of these satin enamels. And this is the pearl white. So I'm going to zero out again. And I'm going to stir it a little bit. Sometimes you have little oils that collect on the top. And we're at 0, okay. And I'm going to do 1 ounce of the Satin Enamels to start. Sometimes I go to 1.5 ounces, but to start, I just put in 1 ounce. And I put it in slowly. There's no need to hurry through this process. Okay, so there's our 1 ounce. Okay. Now we're going to add our water. I use this to add my water. It has a little spout on it. And it kind of drips out. Or I can squeeze it and get more. Which is kind of good because at times I would just want to add a little bit of water at a time. And this is distilled water, but I have used tap water. I've used bottled water. But lately I've been using distilled water. You don't have to use it. That's just what I use. So let me get a bigger stir stick. Okay, and we're going to mix this up. And I mix it before I add my water. So I'm just going to stir that up real good. Get my bottom. Get my sides. And let's see. Set you up a little bit. Okay. So we can see without water, the consistency is already thin. But it's not as thin that, you know, how we want it. Let's get a got a little paper here. And let's show you what the consistency is. Another way to test it without any water. And this is going to tell you how your paint is moving or will move. You see that? Very, very slow. So we want it to move fast down the paper, and that's going to let us know the consistency is thin or what you're looking for. So I'm going to add a little bit of water at a time. Now the water I don't normally measure. I just kind of, you know, throw it in there, stir. Now look at it. And because I've done this a few times, I know exactly, you know, what I'm looking for. But that's not it. Right there, that's not it. Okay. So let's add a little bit more. almost. We're almost there. When I do like this, go from side to side, I can feel the weight of the paint. So I already know, because of the resistance, that it's not right yet. And unfortunately, well, you know what? We know we put in 3 ounces of paint, and we put in 5 ounces of Floetrol. So after I get my water in, and it's the consistency I want, that's 8 ounces. So we will see how many ounces it is, and then that'll give you an idea how much water I added. Okay, let's see how that's running. Okay, not quite. See that? It's running, but it's not running fast enough for me. That looks almost ready to see. Here how it's sloshing in the cup. That tells me that it's not as resistant as it was initially. All right, let's see. It did run a little faster. So what I'm gonna do now is test it. And before I do, before I do a pour on canvas, I always test on a tile. Let's see how much water we added so far. Give or take, because we did do a little test on the paper. So we're at 12 ounces, 12 point. All right, make up your mind. Scale. Okay, we're at 11.9. Oh, 12. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So far, give or take a point, we've added about 4 ounces of water. Now, take in consideration, I did take some paint out for these run tests. So that'll give you an idea. 3 to 4 ounces of water for your initial measuring. But you want to, like I said, add it slowly. Okay. Now I have my tiles set up, and we are going to see if we get a reaction. If I get a good reaction, then I know the mixture is good. And this is what I do before every pour, because I'm not going to, waste all this paint on a canvas and not get a reaction. What's the point of that? All right, so let's pour just a little on the tile, right in the center. Let's torch it. And I'm going to spread it just so I can see how it's moving. And you see where it's moving quite freely. Now let's do a ribbon of some color. And what I look for is, let's see, I look for the shadowing around the color. That tells me I got a good mix. So let me get I'm going to paint later. I don't want a whole bunch of mess to clean up. All right, so we're going to move this around. And you want to stretch it. You want to stretch it as much as you can. And you know what? That's not enough paint to test. Well, let's see. Let's go this way. Okay, so this is not, let's torch it. See. No, it's not good. If it's really, really good, as soon as you stretch that black paint, you're going to see cells and pearls start to form. So no, this is not good. And that's what happens. You have to go back, adjust your water. Okay, let's see how that looks. Maybe a little more. So we now are probably up to 4.5 ounces of water. Okay. Let's mix, because there's not much in here, so let's mix another color. So for my colors, I mix one part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. So I'm going to do, and I'm going to use this color later, so I'm going to do 1 ounce. Okay. And this is Liquitex Basics Deep Green. I really like this color. And I'm going to do two ounces of the Floetrol. So we're going to go up to 3. Okay. Now that is very thick. So of course, we're going to add some water. And again, I eyeball the water. I've never really, gotten written down how much water I use. But we do know that we have 3 ounces of paint and Floetrol in this cup. Okay. And that's nowhere near the consistency that I want. It's like plopping down. And it's leaving a mound. So we don't want that. We want it thin, but not as thin as the water. I'm sorry. Yeah, not as thin as water and not as thin as our base coat. Okay, still leaving a mound. Goodness. Come on, paint. And it can probably take me an hour, depending on how many colors I'm using, to mix up my paints. If I don't already have something mixed up that I want to use. Okay, I think that may be still too thick. And I try to only add 2 or 3 squirts at a time. That's why I like using this little bottle, because it kind of squirts out maybe maybe a teaspoon or a tablespoon. Okay, now see how that's just going straight in. Well, now it's leaving a freaking mound. You won't make me curse. Don't play with me, paint. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so we did add a little bit more water to our base. I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to add a little bit more water. All right, let's get our tile. Now, when I initially plop it on the white, on the base, I let it sit maybe a minute or two. So we're getting some shadowing. And that's what I look for. So I hope you can see that. Okay. Let's move it around. And when you move it on your canvas, you want your you want your color to be, you want to thin it as much as possible on the canvas. Now, you see how those sails are popping up? And it's popping up here first because this is the thinnest area of it. So the more you stretch, the thinner your color is going to get, and the more reaction you're going to get. And that is basically how I do it. So we didn't get anything with the black. I went back to my white base. I added a couple of more drops of water. And look at that. That's what you're going to look for. That's what you want to achieve. So, let me show you the consistency of the color again. So it is leaving a little bit of a mound. And let's see how much paint that ended up being. Let's get the scale. So we added 3 ounces, 1 of paint, 2 of Floetrol. And we have 3.9 ounces. Well, now it says 4. I need to get a new scale. This thing is just so temperamental sometimes. So that was 3, 4, so about an ounce, another ounce and a half, 1.2 according to the scale. Well, we got to consider the little bit that we put here. So I would say about an ounce of water we added. But, you know, you really have to look at it. This is what you want for your color. So it is leaving just a tad bit of a mound. And for our base, very thin. No mound, no trace. Nothing. It's going straight through. So, I hope that helps. There we go. Okay. I hope that helps you get a better idea of what you should be doing. Now, I have a completely different recipe for my house paint mixture. I may do that another time if someone expressed interest in that. But you are basically looking for the same thing. You're looking for a very thin base and a thin for your colors, but not as thin. And you want to stretch. Stretch, 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 stretch. That color on your base, on your canvas, to get this result here. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, just ask. I really try to respond to every comment that I get. That's just me, because I'm just a nice person. No, I'm not. So that's it. Thanks. I said that already. Have a good day. Stay blessed. Stay safe. See you next pour.